Okay, so last one I'm gonna do today. Hope everyone is still hanging in there during this interesting time. This is again from the old files that I found when I first started the videos and some of the notes. So this one is kind of tied to other videos that I've done. But it's on INTJs and trouble expressing themselves. So this one, I have a note that it was to do with a viewer, Caro Karshan. So thank you. And I find it interesting because people would assume, oh, we have no problems expressing ourselves because we come out with opinions and theories and mindsets that are for discussion. We have something that we want to say on topics that we're interested in. We have, at least for myself, I have no problem saying I have no idea about something that I literally don't know anything about. I'm not gonna try and pretend. It's just not worth it. I'm looking at my notes while I'm doing this. So for me, that is not expressing yourself. That is just opinions or propositions put forward. So expressing yourself, I find very difficult. I'll give you a couple examples coming up. First, on a personal level, I find that if I am in a personal encounter with a loved one and there is some sort of issue between the two of us, the natural tendency is for myself is to want to resolve it or try to make sense of it. And at the same time, I have a very difficult time articulating what I mean, or what I actually equate it to trying to use a second language. So trying to speak about the way I feel, but I have to translate it through language of thought and thinking. And therefore, it's difficult because you're also working with the disadvantage of having the emotional side already in play internally. So you're trying to make sure that you're not muddled by that, those feelings that are actually the whole point of the conversation that you're going to have. So for me, on the personal level, my spouse and I, when we were dating, we ended up with a situation where there was something that happened. I'm not going into details because there's no point. But for once, I was the one that was wondering what the heck was going on, because something had happened on his end. And because I was very caring about him and invested in our relationship, because we'd already broken through quite a few barriers, I wanted to have like a sit down, and so we met at a restaurant and we chatted. And the good thing about my spouse, he is an ISFP, but he doesn't mind talking in that type of, I don't want to say robotic, but talking in the thinking vernacular rather than the emotional vernacular. Because I don't know about other people, but for myself, when I'm having a very difficult time with an emotional issue, it's not sloppy. Like, I'm not going to emote because I'm actually shut down The fact that I'm wanting to have this conversation means that I am invested in that relationship, and I'm wanting to understand the other person's point of view, or understand the next steps. And he does not mind that it's not the typical, histrionic, I guess, type of falling apart thing. But in that, on the personal side, that actually is difficult, because at the same time, when you're not showing the way that you're actually feeling, and it's not on purpose, it's you don't know how, the gravity of the situation is actually tied to the words you're using, as opposed to having that person understand it through a visceral reaction. So that is interesting. The other side of trouble expressing ourselves is on the business side. So for myself, I had mentioned before that I have done consulting and started my own company. And through that, I needed, on the company side, I was looking for, potential partners or resources, that type of thing. And I had met a person that there's a potential there to work with them. And this was on the marketing side. So even though my background is quite a bit of marketing, risk management, PR side of things, it's really hard to market yourself, I find, as an INTJ, because we're muddled in the mix of things, and we're not best at tooting our own horn at the best of times. I find, love to hear other people's thoughts, especially non-INTJs. That'd be great. But he asked me a simple question about the business, the idea, the concept. And in my head, I went and rambled through a million things. I could not grab a linear line of thought, because everything came in about what my system was about and what it could do, and from the different angles that I had chosen to build it in order to encompass a larger audience that I felt was lacking in other systems. And it really was sad watching, or from the mind's eye, seeing me try to talk in this convoluted way about something that I was so passionate about, that I spent my own money and time risking to build this, and I couldn't say it in one sentence. And I've learned that is something that is definitely part of that expressing themselves, because for myself at least, building that system, it is a part of me. It's not something that I could just go and say, whatever. It's not it's not a remote view into something. This is just actually an appendage off of who and what I hold valuable. So the expressing itself is very difficult. All that being said, the best thing I found for myself after going through this was to recognize it and don't hold that as part of my personal assessment, because yes, we have strengths and we have weaknesses, and the ability to be able to go and find someone who has the opposite, strengths and weaknesses, is this definite advantage. But the best thing I found for myself with expressing myself was understanding this and then being able to articulate it to the people I was talking to. So even though it sounded kind of maybe a bit unconventional to speak that way, I found saying simply, look, I am really tied personally to this project, or tied to what the situation is, and I'm going to have a tough time trying to speak about this. So like, try and glean what you can, and then we can keep talking from there. And hope that works, because hopefully the other person on the other side is someone that can probably understand someone that is being a bit humble on knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are. So anyways, that's my video. Love, again, as always, to hear other people's thoughts regarding this, and video requests, just put it in the comment section. Thanks.